Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield talking to some of the country's biggest stars and some of my favourite people. And we've got one for you today. Craig Charles, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, man?
Do you know, this is really easy for you, isn't it? Because you're normally on the other end of the mic now on Radio 2 interviewing other people. Now I get to interview you.
I know, it's weird wearing a different hat. I prefer asking the questions, to be fair.
Most people say that. I interviewed Parky once and he said the same. It's much more difficult answering them than asking them, isn't it?
It really is. You have to think. You have to face your sincerity a lot more.
It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, when we look at your career, are you an actor or a presenter? The two are very different.
Ooh, I started out as a poet, you know. I memean, so I always saw myself as a poet, really. I mean, I always carried on writing the poetry, even though I got off into the... Because it all started out, I was doing Wogan and Saturday Night Live as a poet, and a chap called Paul Jackson was leaving Saturday Night Live to go and produce this weird, curious science fiction sitcom on BBC Two called Red Dwarf, and I said, any chance I could, have a part in it? And he went, no. And in the end, I hassled him so much that he gave me a chance to read for the part of Dave Lister, and I got it. And then so the comedy acting took over. I never stopped writing the poems. I used to write, but I just used to write them, but not do them on the telly anymore. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, when I left Red Dwarf to do Robot Wars, the presenting sort of kicked in. Mm. And then while I was doing the presenting, I was doing some voiceover work, a thing called Takeshi's Castle, and that kind of took off as well. So it took me further away. And then I got the opportunity to be in Coronation Street, and all of a sudden I was in Coronation Street for 10 years in the blink of an eye. And that took me further away. And then obviously, having left Coronation Street, I started doing the Gadget Show, and I've been doing the Gadget Show. I'm in the middle of doing my fourth series of the Gadget Show. So that sort of took me further away. But one thing that did happen when I'd left Coronation Street, I was wondering what to do. My kids, he said to me, Dad, you know those poems that you used to write for us when we were going to bed? That little character you created, Scary Fairy. Why don't you do something with that? That was really good. And I went, all right, I'll have that. So I went back and looked at them, and I thought, yeah, we could this could do something. And basically, it's just Little Fairy, and it's children's nursery rhymes, but with all the snot and blood and gore put right back in. Because my kids at the time were reading Harry Potter and Goosebumps and things like that. So it's like all the snot and blood and gore put back into these children's nursery rhymes, but they're seen through the eyes of this scary fairy. And she influences the action, but no one's ever known this before. Because there's a newspaper in the Darkwood called the Once Upon a Times, and it's written by these trolls in the press, but they never tell the real story. And this is the expose, the real story of what happened long ago in the Darkwood. So it's the real story of Hansel and Gretel. It's the real story of Little Red Riding Hood, Snow White, etc., etc., etc. This is the third one that we're doing. We've done with the Philharmonic Orchestra, so we've done Little Red Riding Hood, we've done Hansel and Gretel, and this one's Scary Fairy Saves Christmas, where basically it's loads of the characters from the Darkwood are all in this one story. And we do it with a 95, what is the size of my band? 95-piece band.
Isn't that incredible? Let's do the big plug. It's at the Lowry in Salford on the 4th and 5th of December. The ultimate funk and soul party, Craig Charles, Funks Up Christmas, commences a 2-night residency from Tuesday the 4th of December, featuring the exclusive Craig Charles DJ set. I mean, that's one thing we haven't even talked about yet. Then on Wednesday the 5th of December, you can join him with the BBC Philharmonic and the acclaimed singer Curtis Stigers, performing for BBC Radio 2's Friday Night is Music Night too. So, I mean, it's an amazing thing, this, and what a position to be in where they ask you to do it, because let's face it, you could be the greatest genius on earth, but if nobody cares, it's tough to get heard, isn't it?
It's true, and I like this in a way because it kind of reflects this sort of eclectic nature of my career and my interests, really. So you're on the 4th, do the Funk and Soul Night, and we've got bands playing with us that I've listened to all my life, bands like Odyssey, remember Native New Yorker, and Back to My Roots, stuff like that. Odyssey, we've got The Real Thing playing, we've got the Fantasy Funk Band, who were a band that were put together by the listeners to my radio show, where they voted for their favourite funk and soul drummer, favourite funk and soul bass player, guitarist, horn section, etc., etc., etc. And I just phoned them up and said, "Do you fancy being in the band?" And they all went, okay. So they're playing with us, and we've got some Northern Soul from Lorraine Silver, who was big in the Wigan Casino days and stuff like that. We've got Odyssey, The Real Things. That's going to be a real funk and soul disco party on the 4th. And then on the 5th, we've got the BBC Philharmonic Orchestra with myself doing the world premiere of Scary Fairy, and we've got Curtis Stigers as well.
Yeah,
so it's great to be able to work with all these people, and it's great to be asked. It's just, yeah, I'm in a very strange place at the moment. It's great to be busy as well, and sometimes a bit too busy.
You've achieved some amazing things. I wonder whether for you, like me, radio is still the most fulfilling. You can stand at Wembley, or you can stand in front of 10,000 or meet the Queen, but sitting behind a microphone, being completely real, live and in control, there's no thrill like it, is there?
That's brilliant. And Terry Wogan once said to me, Terry, what's it like, talking to 8 million people a day? And he said, no, Craig, no, you've got it wrong. I just talk to one.
Yeah.
And that's a great way of looking at it. You just talk to one person. It's just like I just like having a conversation, like you're having a conversation. It just so happens that a million people are earwigging at the same time.
Incredible. And I mean, when you do something like Coronation Street, you did it for nearly a decade. I guess it's the opposite of radio in a way, because it's so ponderous and slow. You're there such long hours, you work so hard, and it takes so long to create. I suppose the great thing about radio is you can go and do 2 hours in 2 hours, can't you?
That's it. I mean, I kind of we have to do a bit of prep, but on a Saturday I do 6 till 9 on 6 Music, and then I have an hour off where I go to the pub, have a couple of liveners, and then I do 10 till midnight on Radio 2, and then we go and do a gig. So Saturdays are a big day for me, but it's not work. I mean, people say, Craig, you work so hard. It's like, what, playing music and talking nonsense? That's not work. Put me down for it. It's like my ideal job, and I love radio. I just love. I think it's a lot more intimate a medium than television is. And you're right, it is instant gratification, and you have got to think on your feet. You have got to have fairly quick brain to mouth functions, and you're right. You can get it all over and done with, and it's all over and done with. Next day is a new day, so I live my life. Don't look back, look forward.
Yeah, amazing. And then we look at filling in for Steve Wright. Does that feeling ever become okay and normal, that the guests who are big stars know who you are before you have to introduce themselves? It's incredible, that feeling, isn't it?
It is a good feeling. It's especially you talk to big stars and they work out that they're a fan of yours and they grew up watching you, and they're just as nervous talking to you as you are talking to them. And that whole thing, if you told me that when I was growing up in Liverpool, that I'd be in that situation, I would have called you a liar. It's sort of like, it just shows you, that if you can, the longer you last, you've got a chance of turning around wild man to national treasure.
And what is your life now? I mean, the hedonism was a big thing of your sort of 30s, I suppose, 20s as well. At this point, are you now the sort of grown-up, sort of sensible person who's in bed by 8 o'clock, other than on Saturdays when you're working?
No, I'm very. I've got 3 children. I've got a wife of 20 odd years. We live in the countryside. I've got a very, I've got a big family, a small circle of friends, and I'm too old for all that malarkey, to be honest.
It's exhausting, isn't it?
Yeah, being a party person is really quite tiring. Especially if you've got to get up and do the school run.
It's like a full-time job.
It is. So yeah, I've kind of slowed down an awful lot. I don't get me wrong, I don't regret anything. But things have got to change. And if I was still the same person as I was in my 20s now, it would just look sad.
When you're the number one guy on the number one show on TV and everybody's into you and talking about you, it's not surprised you can get carried away. I wonder if there is any future for Red Dwarf, or is it sort of done now?
No, we did Red Dwarf 12, came out last year, which won so many awards. And got really good reviews, which we never ever used to get in the past.
Isn't it interesting?
Yeah, so I know. So
can we have some more, please? It was brilliant.
Yeah, we're in talks now to make Red Dwarf 13, which will probably happen sometime next year. So a lot of it is just the difficulties with getting the 4 of us back in a room. It's like trying to put a rock band together when everyone's gone off and had solo careers and stuff like that,
Almost torched by your own petard, aren't you, really? Being too good. Yeah. If you were less successful, it'd be easier.
yeah. But then again, if we were less successful, successful, people would want it less.
That's
So
right.
it's kind of, But yeah, we're hopefully going to do more Red Dwarfs. There's life in us yet. We need to do them soon, though, because, Robert is... you've seen at the age of Robert and Chris. And Danny, I'm the only one with hair. I'm the only one with hair.
Age can be cruel. And what about Corrie, the day job? Do you miss it? Is there any hope that could reinvent at some point?
No, I don't miss it. I've been too busy. What happened was my brother died. I was in the jungle doing I'm a Celebrity, and my brother died. And he had a narrowing of the arteries leading into his heart that created a blood clot. He never knew he had this, and he just dropped dead on the spot. And so I had to fly back from the jungle, and I just thought to myself, I'd been in Coronation 10 years by that time, and I just thought, will I be happy if this was all that I did now, or would I think I'd missed some opportunities? I just thought to myself, you know what, it's very safe to being in a show like Coronation Street. It's like a job for life. If they like your character, you're very well paid. And the work's not that hard. When you do work, you work hard, but then your storyline finishes, and then you're just in the pub saying, pint of lager and a packet of crisps, please, for a couple
and
of
laughing
weeks,
at other people's jokes.
Yeah. So you work hard for a short while, and then you've got a lot of downtime because of someone else's storyline. So it's not that hard. But I just thought, you know what? Let's go and try some new adventures. Let's take a risk. Loving doing the gadget show. You're talking to a bloke who has got 6 remotes on his coffee table and doesn't know how to turn his television on.
Can't you find one that does everything?
We lost that one. So hopefully, so I'm enjoying learning about gadgets, and I'm bringing a very much of an everyman feel to that. I'm doing it not like, hey, I'm an expert. I'm doing it like, okay, how does it work? Is it easy to work? How much does it cost? Is it worth it? Is it progress for progress's sake? And so that's my sort of the way I'm approaching the gadget show, and it seems to be going down really well. The figures are up, and people are enjoying it, and I'm enjoying it. So I wouldn't have had that adventure if I was still doing Coronation Street. I wouldn't be able to go and do a lot of the DJ shows that I'm doing, where we're traveling the world, playing Ibiza and playing Corfu and playing Australia and America, and I wouldn't be able to do that if I was doing Coronation Street. So, I'm getting new adventures in. I'm 54, and there's life in the old dog yet, but I just want to, as I say, look forward rather than look back. And 10 years, I had 10 great years at Corrie, but 10 years is 10 years, and you can end up being in that show for your whole life if you're not careful.
And I guess that must have been the longest flight home of your life. And isn't it a shame that you have to have sort of a seminal moment like that to reevaluate and see where you are, and for that to be sort of a guiding light to your happiness now?
Yeah, I know. And a really sad thing was, me and my brother had fallen out, and we weren't talking at the time. And he texted me before I was going into the jungle saying, hey, Craig, let's hook up and have a chat, talk things over. And I couldn't get back to him because you're not allowed to tell anyone that you're going in the jungle as part of the contract,
Right.
So I thought, I'll go in the jungle, I'll get this done, I'll come back out, and we'll all be ready. We'll all have a big family Christmas, and bygones be bygones, that kind of thing. And that never happened. So it alters the way you think of things. So I try not to go to sleep on an argument now. Try and live my life in a lot more forgiving manner, and be a lot kinder to people, and because it could happen to anyone. And it's over.
Listen, we wish you well. Thank you so much for your time. I'm a big fan of what you do, and you've brought so much joy to generations. And that's the scary thing about being 54. There's kids of kids of kids who now love what you do. That's a bit weird.
It is a bit weird. I'm talking about grown men coming up to me and saying, oh, God, my mum used to let me stay up and watch you on the telly. I'm like, what?
You can see Craig Charles with his Funks Up Christmas at the Lyric Theatre at the Lowry. You can see that at the Keys in Salford. Brilliant on Tuesday, 4th of December. Then Craig Charles, Scary Fairy Saves Christmas premiere at the Lyric Theatre, the Lowry. And that, of course, is on Wednesday, the 5th of December. A busy Christmas for you. Thank you so much for your time. It's been a joy talking to you.
Cheers, man.